Hello, good morning, if it's morning for you. It is for me at the time of recording this anyway. I'd like to thank you if you saw my last video and stuck around because of it. I put a lot of time into it, or at least as much as I could, as I work most of the time, but I really enjoyed creating it, and if you saw it and you liked it, thank you. Really appreciate it. I've got an easier one today, just another designing video based on class specs and stuff. My last one was made at a 3 in the morning fever, which is really funny, but most of it is just me mad at how long it took me to figure out one design. Anyway, this time I did the blood aspect. A witch and a prince. Jeski Inieso is a witch of blood, and the way I interpreted this, and honestly how I interpret many of my class spec designs, are by thinking about how the fabric interacts with them and if they personally would like it, because not everyone has the same taste, and it's fun. This will be my downfall, as in my story I have probably 56 characters that appear with their own tier, so we'll see how that goes. It's not publicly available yet, but it is something I am working on as much as I can. You could argue it's like a variant of fancy tier, but I just call it a personal tier, or just whatever the class spec is, because it's all personalized anyway. So with Jeski's design, I yoinked the blood aspect colors. Blood is all about relationships and sort of like the ties that keep you grounded in a way. And Jeski's design, I kept the goggles that they usually have on. Their hair is usually cropped short anyway. They have a robotic arm that they use because of psychic energy, and I wanted to keep the theme of what the aspect symbol is like, so I cut the shirt that they're wearing down the side so it looked like the blood aspect, like drip. I wrapped their arms up in some bandages, put a fun little design on their pants, and you see that I give them a cape, but I decided I didn't like it. I wanted to give them something on the back, and I had thought about putting 3 strips of fabric, and then later I go back in and I do that, but I put a cape on them otherwise, when I really should have just done that, but, you know. Oenemo is the Prince of Blood, and I drew them, and then I was like, no, this isn't working, I hate the way it's looking, and then I think so far, they went through the most mock-ups. I did about 4 in total, I think. Yeah, that sounds right. I was trying to put in some pinkish colors because they were really close to the heart aspect. So I wanted to reflect that in this. And then later on, I was just like, no, this isn't working still. So I just redrew the entire thing. And I think that's where I went right with this, because I kept trying to make the previous line art work when I wasn't happy with it in the first place. Sometimes you just have to redraw it. Sometimes you just got to commit and you got to redraw it. So I went a lot more puppet-like because of how I believe that it's about strings and ties and chains and all that, etc., etc. But otherwise, I kept the outfit pretty much the same. I wrapped the scarf I had given them in the first place around their arms a little more. I put some bandages around their hand, and they're purposely based off of a string puppet. And then the lines coming from their face down to their clothes are actually based on vein placements, like blood vein placements. So I just looked at my wrist and did it based off of that. And then it was just about blotting in the colors. And I wanted to make Oenemo's colors, like the reds, like brighter, because I wanted the implication to be that they have not healed from their wounds. And while Jeski also has wounds they have not healed, whether mentally or whatever, it's just like more of a metaphorical thing of they've got trauma, and this one has not healed it as much as they should have, especially if they're a god. Like, come on, man. You're a god, you're like technically immortal, you can't even find the time to just like find a therapist or something? Like, come on. Can't be that serious. Anyway, that was most of my process. It wasn't too hard to do these ones. I sort of jumped right in after doing the Doom ones from last time, and this is just what I came up with. Sometimes you're super inspired and you know exactly what you want, and sometimes you fumble around for a while before you figured it out, and that's fine. It's really just the case for how most of my art goes. Really just a mess around, find out, etc., etc. Honestly, I'd love to make a video based on how I think the aspects personally work. I think that could be fun. I have a lot of ideas. I just don't always have the time, which sucks, but it's just how it is. But either way, I would be describing exactly how I interpret them and how they're interpreted into my comic. Because, again, I read Homestuck many years ago, but the class specs system is such a cool way for the exploration of powers, or like a power system, that I find fascinating. So it's the only real remaining trace that I like Homestuck in my comic. I'm not really ashamed to say that either. I'm cringe, I'm free, we all are. Anyway, this video is kind of short, but I have other stuff going on, so that's all I can put out right now. Which is fine, nothing wrong with that. Like, I'd love to do like a sketchbook tour, or like, you know, a bunch of other stuff. I have a lot of plans in my brain. Most of it interest related. Either way, thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed this. Have a good one.